so good.
I did it. I used your tips, and I did all the bits myself.
Yeah.
How does it look?
On the figure? What figure?
On my face.
Really good.
Yes.
Your blending is immaculate.
I took a lot of pride in
I think
the
you
blending.
did a little bit too hard, but I think it works.
Okay, cool. All right.
Okay. Welcome everybody to our very first episode of Custom Corner at Astonishing News and Reviews. And today I'm going to show you guys how to enhance your customs with just highlighting and shadowing. I am a makeup artist outside of here, so I thought it would be great to show you guys how to do this. It's easy, it's simple. I'll go along and explain all the steps to enhancing your customs. Alright, so the point of highlighting and contouring for your customs is to really enhance, sculpt out some features, you know, to really add that depth so it's not just a flat plastic. So today we are going to be focusing on a male character. Males tend to have more straighter lines, more sculpted out features. So I'm going to show you how to do male face painting. Next episode, we're gonna do female makeup and contouring, so stay tuned for that. So before we get started, I will go through some tools that I'm gonna be using and some products. What I did is prepped and primed the face with a lighter skin base. My favorite primers is the Army Painter Primer. It's matte base. Because we're working on the face, we don't want that shine. This keeps everything nice and matte. And for paints, again, Army Painter War Paint. So the base that I put down is Corpse Pale. His face is quite light. The reason why you want to start with the lighter shade is paints tend to dry darker. So at least this will allow you to start with the light base and help you in creating your highlight contour features. Getting into the products that I used for highlighting and contouring. Now the cool thing is you can go to any drugstore to buy these shadows. Everyone's going to be different when they do this kind of feature. This one is specifically highlight and contour colors. So we get 3 light colors, 3 darker tones, and then because I need a darker tone, because we're going to be doing some sculpting, I do have this other eyeshadow palette a friend lent me. I still have it. I've had it for about 6 months. Jen, you might get this back. But inside there's a really nice warm brown that works really well with skin tones. Now you're asking yourself what kind of tools you need. So I'm going to explain to you the different brushes that I use for different parts of this project. So for this guy here, it is the 229 shader brush. If you can find anything like this that has a small fluffiness, that's gonna really give you that soft diffused color application. And it's also good for wider faces. For the smaller areas that I'm gonna be doing onto Ken, I got this brush here. It is a little more longer and a little more tapered, so that is gonna give you and myself the option and easy application of the contour colors. So going back to the paints that I love to use for skin tones, and the reason why I love these ones is because they're super thin and lightweight. They are meant for airbrush. So I do got the Corpse Pale color. I also got the Centaur Skin, which is like a nice pale pink. And then this guy here, Cobalt Skin. I probably said that wrong, but the reason why I use these tones, so you got your base skin tone, and you might have to put a little bit of a pink undertone to it if it's super translucent and pale like myself, or more of a gold undertone for the darker skin tones. Okay, so now you're wondering, where do I find these amazing products Christopher just showed me? So the Army paints you can find on Amazon. the primer, the paints, all the accessories you need to begin customizing. And then for these other products, this, you know, I work for MAC, so it definitely helps, but you can go to any drugstore. You don't have to spend an arm and a leg on these guys. Just make sure you get the colors that you need for your specific look. Okay, so we're gonna get into this. I am an old person, so I wear glasses to see. Ugh.
My glasses.
Is that what you look like, Justin? Okay, let's start out with highlighting. Now, we want to highlight first because it's gonna give us a better feature and more control, and we'll know where to apply the darker shades. So going into my highlighting colors up here, because the cartoon character and the comic character is quite fair, we don't want to use this color. We're gonna go for this color. It's got a bit of an ivory tone to it. This one, you could use it, it would just come off too pink and it'd be too much of a contrast between the pale skin. So I got this brush here and then this brush here. I'm gonna be using both. So let's go in, grab this color here, and it's a nice fine milled powder and all the high points. So you just go in there. Now you're not gonna see it right away because it is a highlight color, but once we start adding in these darker tones, it's really gonna pop out and really give it nice dimension. So the cheekbones on men, the cheekbones tend to be higher, and yes, you still want to highlight those because it's part of the main features. We need to bring those out. Use your pinky as a anchor so your hand doesn't shake as much like mine does after drinking 8 cups of coffee. It's very subtle. You can't even see it. Don't worry, again, you won't be able to see it right away. So now I'm gonna go into the smaller one because we're gonna be getting into smaller areas. So we need that control of where it's gonna go. So picking up that same color, tap off any excess. The brow bone underneath the brow is also a high point. So you just wanna glide that shadow along. And the reason why I like using eyeshadows, you get a little more control than using liquid paint. So everyone's different when they do their customizing and face painting. If you do more liquids, use a softer brush and kind of do that dry brushing effect that I'm sure you guys already know about. That way it'll give you that softer diffused look and allow you to build. It's always easier to add than take away. So going to this side, brow bone. We'll have to go over the brows again to fill them out, but you know what? That's why we prepped. So I don't know, hopefully you guys can see this, but above his brow, he's got a high point there and here. So you always, again, we want that kind of devious look that he has. So we're gonna go in there with the shadow and highlight those high points just above the brow bone. And then right in the center of the forehead, let's flip this upside down, just like that, easy peasy. I feel like making a happy little mistake. Bob Ross, we miss you. And then, of course, down the nose. This is the easy stuff, you guys. You know, this, we're just bringing out the high points. It's when you start adding that contour color that really brings life to your customs. So you're gonna get more excited. You're gonna wanna go further Remember, step back, look at it as well. Don't just keep focusing up here thinking it's looking good. Kind of step back, look at it from side to side, and you'll know when to stop, hopefully. Sometimes I don't. So last part of highlighting, we got this little indent here on the cheek. We're gonna highlight this part here just beside the porn stash, which I sculpted that on. And if you guys want to know how to do sculpting, I did sculpt the hair. Let us know in the comments, and maybe you'll see it on a future video. So right now we will stop here. I do want to spray it in between applications. Now, when using a powder, this is one of the steps that you have to do a little more often than normal, just because if you keep using a powder, it only builds so much before you start wiping away what you're putting down. So we do want to use the primer, spray it in between, let it sit. Especially if you're going into the darker colors, you need to let it dry completely, or as soon as you put that dark color on, it's gonna look very intense and it's not gonna blend properly. So I'm gonna take my primer, I'm gonna pop outside, give it a quick spray, and we'll start on contouring. Now it's time for the funnest part, sculpting out the features. Now, we have 3 different tones here. You want to start light. If you start too dark, it's not gonna look right. When you look at a shadow, there's some different tones in there. So I'm gonna start out by using this lighter tone here. Again, going in with that small liner brush, tap off any excess. And it's also good because we're starting out lighter. It's gonna start tracing out exactly where you need to put it. So as you can see, this is his cheekbone here. And then what you want to do is start going in where the lower part underneath that cheekbone is. And I'm just going to softly blend it in. And into that little crevice that's in there. Remember, we highlighted right here. We want to go down in there. And this is really going to start shaping out my specific look. I do like having a soft brush on the side. Don't blow on it. I know I did in the last segment, but when you blow on your figure to get any loose dust off, you can spit out some spit and that will stick to the figure and that could ruin the application of your shadows. So again, let's just go in. Go to the other side, same application, start right underneath here. Just gonna flip this way so you guys can see. So we're following that cheek all the way down and into that little crevice. Now, if you cover up any highlighted areas, do not fret. You can always go back and apply that lighter coat on top of the powder, and it's nice because it'll help blend your work, so don't freak out just yet. I like going right against the hairline. If you have that empty space there that you didn't add the shadow in, it's gonna create a disconnect and it's not gonna look as nice. So, eye area and nose. So I love contouring the nose and the eye area. You know, this guy's a pretty evil character in the Phoenix Saga, and I wanna add that depth to the eyes. And this is how you do it, using the powder. So using that same liner brush, using that same lighter shadow color, what we're gonna do is we're gonna go along the side of the nose. You don't have to press hard. That's the nice thing about shadows. You don't have to press hard. And then go in, pick a little more up, and I'm gonna take that color right up into the brow bone on the inner corner. just very softly up here. We're gonna go to the other side and do the exact same thing. And when you're doing this to your customs, really look at their face shape and try and picture the lines that you see and use those as guides to where you're going to be putting your color and placement. And again, right on the inner corner, up to the brow, and just softly sweep your brush over so you get a nice blend of shadow. Work it. All right. Now I am gonna be taking some shadow underneath the eyes. So actually, I am gonna go in with a softer, finer point tip brush, just so we can get super tight and super close to the eye line. And again, it's gonna be subtle and soft at first, but that's okay. We're gonna work it up to intensity. As you can see, it's okay if it's a bit messy looking. It's very soft and subtle. On men's heads, because they're more sculpted and they're more wider in a sense, if that makes sense. So for this contour, we are going to be contouring the side of the forehead right here. Again, that's going to sculpt out the shape of his face and give us more of that square feature look that he has in the cartoon and comics. So we're just adding that contour right in here. Now, again, using the brow as a guide, you just want to take it to that point. Don't go any further. Sweep off any excess. Get right into the hairline. Flip it around and do the other side. And again, just to the edge of the tail of the brow. Now, onto that forehead where we highlighted here, we just want to add a little bit of shadow into these creased areas. Again, just using the same lighter contour color. So we got the first color down in our contour color. So I'm gonna pop outside again, spray it so we can keep working off the color bases. Perfect.
Perfect.
Okay, so we sprayed this, let it sit for about 5 minutes, and now it's time to go back and build on to the shadow contour and sculpting. So one thing I wanted to add, after it sets, really step back and take a look at it, because sometimes where we've already sculpted, it might be enough for what you're creating. Then you can decide, okay, I'm gonna bring out a little more feature in the cheekbone or the forehead. So really make sure to, stop, stand back, and decide what more you wanna add. So I want more of a cheekbone out of this guy, because in the image that we are showing you right now, it's a very sculpted jawline. So onto the custom, we're gonna go into our second tone, which is this guy right here. Picking it up with the same brush and just, again, going back and building on what we've already put down and following the same application. We're not doing anything new. We are just building on what we put down. Just make sure that when you're applying, to softly pull the color down a bit so it blends out, so it's not harsh lines. I can already see that jawline. Which, by the way, if he had more of that jaw, which we see some of these heads have, I would sculpt it, but because he doesn't have so much of a jawline, that's one less step I don't have to do, which is great. Also, keep in mind, if this is your first time painting, customizing, you're gonna see all the features if you're looking at it super close up. It's just like makeup, you guys. If you look at it super close, it's not gonna be perfect. But if you hold it back, you know, and things are looking good to you, then you're doing an awesome job. And make sure, you know, if you are doing your first custom, and you finish doing this project of highlighting and contouring, post it on our Instagram, send it to us, or post it in our YouTube comment section, which we do monthly giveaways for when you guys leave us comments. So feel free to ask anything and I will answer. What I'll have on the screen, whichever way you guys are looking, I'm gonna have a map of a male's face on where you'd wanna highlight because it's completely different to the female face. So use that as a guide, pause the screen, copy and paste it, whatever you want, and hopefully that will help with where you are gonna be placing your features. All right, I'm gonna go spray this and then we are ready for the final application contour color. Stay tuned. All right, so it is time to get on to the final layer of contouring. So I am done with this palette because it only goes so dark. We're moving to the Antiquity Palette. So one suggestion I would make when getting into an eyeshadow or eyeshadow palette, whatever it is that you pick up, do a couple test swatches on your hand because some of these pigments are very pigmented. So doing that swatch on the hand is going to give you an idea of how hard or light you're going to have to press. So I am going to go into Widow, which is a nice dark brown. You could use a cool tone. I'm using a warm tone. It's just gonna give us that perfect shadow effect that's gonna be applied over the two other bases. Like I said before, the placement is not gonna change. Going into Widow, just clean off your brush and just, again, soft tap and tap it off on the tissue, whatever you're using, so you don't go too dark too fast. So let's get into this. Oh yeah, I can already see that. Pulling it up there, making sure it's blended in. I like to take any excess off and then just blend it down. Again, this just gives me and you full control of how much darkness is going on there, because it's a pain in the butt having to go back and fix it. And here is when you really start to see more of the features and high points starting to come out. And I will be going back with that highlight color to highlight the areas that I want to bring forth. All right, so let's get into the under eye. So again, not down the nose. We're just gonna keep it focused right over the eyelid and underneath the brow bone. And I'm just doing soft little tap and pull so we really get the depth in there and the blend out. And so if you have neither studio lighting or good lighting, if you have an LED light, put a white t-shirt over top of it to diffuse it. That'll give you that soft brightness that you need. Honestly, whatever works for you. Again, that darker shadow is just gonna go to the end of the tail brow, which is right here. Be careful not to get too much on the brow bone because that is a high point. You'll lose that feature if you get too much shadow, but again, you can go back and touch it up. So, I am happy with this. And now what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna go back, clean off this brush, back to the contour palette. Take your brush, and I'm gonna tap it in the lighter and that the creamier tone, just so I want it to brighten up a bit more, but I don't want it white. So tap, 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 tap. And then we're just gonna go back and highlight the high points again. Okay, so we are complete. I got his features done, and you know what? Today was only focusing on highlighting and contouring just to bring out the features, add that next dimension to your customs, or any figure that you have that you just want to give them a little bit of a pop. So let me know what you think, and I can't wait for the second video to come up with female faces and makeup. All right, so thank you for joining me, and I look forward to seeing you guys soon. Take care.